Looks like I was too late to see Kari Bear one last time.
It finally happened. The twins were reunited. They even got to talk to each other. Mother... Let no one say that Bedtime Story wasn't a roller coaster. Dane finally decided to leave the backrooms for just long enough to let us in on some family drama and state secrets, which is always fun. But for all the lore bombs this quest dropped on us, I'd argue the most important one came in the form of a very familiar flower. A flower that might have just revealed how the Primordial One made the world anew, what Ibis Order's half-baked plan is, why only one of the twins is considered a descender, and where they are from. The Abyss twin told the traveler that the reason they could not continue their journey together was because at the end of theirs, they had found a place called the Sea of Flowers at the end. The same flowers that the traveler had once told them they wished to find in full bloom somewhere in the universe. Whatever significance this flower holds for the siblings, it was enough to convince the Abyss twin to stay in Teyvat and fight. And it was enough for the traveler to immediately understand why they chose to do so. We have seen this flower. We have seen this sea. Right at the end of the Travail trailer, we see the twins finally reunited, standing in the Sea of Inteyvat in full bloom. And that's where things get weird. According to Dane, this is the national flower of Kandria. It's native to the underground nation. It only grows there, and it only wilts there as well, as when you take it out of Kandrian soil it hardens, and only softens once more when returned home. And for that, it represents a wanderer's desire to return home. But that means that the traveler, who hails from some destroyed civilization and who had supposedly never been to Teyvat before, should not know that this flower even exists. And they definitely shouldn't have such an emotional connection to it. Unless this flower did mean a return home for them. Oceanid Mary Ann once asked the traveler what kind of flowers bloomed in their homeland. Their answer? The Inteyvat. This led a lot of people to wonder if the twins could originally be from Teyvat, but this theory had a lot of problems. Like, why did the twins not recognize their homeworld upon returning? The traveler still hasn't learned the truth of his world despite having spent so long traveling through the different nations. With the exception of the Eclipse Dynasty and the flower, nothing seems to be ringing a bell for them. And also, if the traveler was from Teyvat, how could they ever be a descender? Thankfully, Bedtime Story might have given us answers to all of these questions. You see, Kari Bear told us that, in its semi-complete state, the Loom of Fate is capable of weaving false memories. However, once finalized, it loses its lower-level ability and starts being able to weave ley lines, which have the potential to change the entire world. However, he also mentions an extremely important detail. The Loom can weave new ley lines, yes, but it cannot extend or replace already existing ones. So imagine that the ley lines are Teyvat's DNA, which code for the planet being the way it is. You cannot alter this DNA. All you can do is add something new to edit the planet, if you will. This is massive. It finally sheds light on Celestia's troubles. We know that the Primordial One made the world anew, but that, to this day, Teyvat is still fighting back. The original order of the world cannot be suppressed. I always wondered why that was. After all, the Primordial One used the authorities of the Seven Sovereigns, which had full control over their elements, to recreate the world. Said elements are elemental energy, the stuff that runs inside ley lines. That's what has the power to change the world. So why not, change it for good? If old ley lines cannot be altered, that means that they also can't be destroyed. The original ley lines of the planet are only being suppressed by the new ones made by Celestia, but they are still there. And yes, I do absolutely believe that the celestial gods weaved ley lines of their own. I mean, don't you think it's weird that with all this talk about ley lines, Irminsul was never once mentioned during the entire quest? The Abyss Order doesn't seem to be interested in Irminsul because they recognize that it's just an edit, Celestia's attempt to suppress the floodgates. I've talked about this before, but I really don't believe Irminsul is native to Teyvat. For one, because Celestia actively manipulates it, which can't be done to pre-existing ley lines. It's probably just a control center that allows them to manipulate the ley lines that they did create. And for 2, because the life forms that were born inside of a PEP claim to be older than any records, and Irminsul is just one giant archive. If this is the case, it would mean that Irminsul can't control the original ley lines, the original order of the world. And that is probably why Celestia has blind spots. I'm sure the reason why the Primordial One did not do anything about Khaenri'ah sooner, or even cursed anyone in it, wasn't because they didn't feel like it. Khaenri'ah is probably connected to the original ley lines. It's part of the original order, and thus not under Celestia's rule. At this point you are probably thinking, what the hell does this have to do with the twins? So let me explain. Creating new ley lines can completely change the world. So by creating a new order, the Primordial One would have physically changed Teyvat, to the point where it might have become unrecognizable to someone who has been far away from home for a long time, especially if that home had been completely destroyed when they first left, as is hinted in the twins' profiles. Teyvat may be the twins' homeland, it's just that the current Teyvat isn't it. And then there is the age-old question, by which I mean the 2-year-old question. Why is one twin a descender while the other one isn't? By definition, a descender is someone from beyond the Sea of Stars who has a will capable of rivaling a world. If the twins are, indeed, Teyvatians, neither of them meets this criteria. But here is the interesting thing. According to Irminsul, the Abyss twin randomly spawned in Khaenri'ah. We don't know if that was their first destination. We just know that that was where Irminsul was first able to record them. Meanwhile, the traveler is on a quest to visit the 4 corners of the world, and yet Irminsul is still not capable of recording them, despite them interacting with ley lines a ton. That's probably because they are foreign to the ley lines. They do not belong to this new order and so cannot be recorded. However, if they are from the original Teyvat, then they do belong to the original order of this world. If my hypothesis that Khaenri'ah is connected to the original ley lines is correct, it would mean the twin would have started being recorded the moment they made contact with the original ley lines. Even though Irminsul can't actually be used to control those, this contact may have been enough for it to enter the twin into its database, making it impossible for them to be classified as a descender. Nahida also told us that the records of the twins' journey became fuzzier as they distanced themselves from Khaenri'ah. She thought this was someone's doing. But what if the siblings simply exited the range of the ley lines that could record them? And then there is also one weird detail that hints at the twins being from Teyvat. Flowers don't care about politics. For the Inteyvat, what does it matter if Khaenri'ah as a nation is still standing or not? As long as it has not been completely destroyed, whether there are people around or not is irrelevant. No need to revive the homeland, all it needs is the right environment. But you would think the chasm would have a similar environment to Khaenri'ah, and yet the flowers did not wilt when the Abyss twin placed them there. Actually, scratch that. The Inteyvat doesn't even need to be underground. We saw the sea of flowers at the end blooming under the open sky. Are we even sure it only blooms in Khaenri'ah? You don't think a nation as proud as the Underground Kingdom would name its national flower in Khaenri'ah or something, as opposed to Inteyvat? If I had to guess, I'd say this flower isn't native to Khaenri'ah, but to the original order of Teyvat. The reason why it was restricted to Khaenri'ah was because it was a pocket of the old world. But the twins remember a world where entire fields of it bloomed under the open sky. Before whatever tragedy first sent them fleeing, Teyvat might have been covered in this peculiar flower, which is why it represents their desire to go home. Why Abyss Prince Ether wasted precious moments placing the flowers in his sister's hair while trying to escape the cataclysm. Why Abyss Princess Lumine placed them on her own hair. They are a reminder and a promise. They will go to war with Celestia, because that is the only way to get their home back. Like that one Cryo Abyss mage told the sibling at the very beginning of the story, when your homeland returns to this world, we shall revel in its glory. But that's just a theory, a Genshin theory. This is highly speculative, so please don't take anything too seriously. though that last line has been tormenting me since the very beginning. You can tell me it doesn't sound like it's talking about the old order coming back. Anyway, I'm late to the party though, which means you guys had a lot of time to think about this and come up with your own theories. I'd love to hear them. Read them. So please share them in the comments. Anyway, my name is Blue and I'll see you again soon. Sooner than this time around. Yeah, definitely sooner. Safe journey, travelers.